Hello and warm welcome to this lecture series. I, Dr. Narendra Singh, going to deliver a lecture on a very pertinent issue, tribal problems. Tribals are facing multidimensional problems, even in the pre-independence times. The tribal problems are very complex. Since the advancement of science and technology, a vast socio-cultural gulf has been created between the tribal people and the people living in their neighboring. Moreover, as soon as the means of communications are developing, the impact of extraneous influences is also increasing. During the period of British administration, the tribal problems were neglected due to the advancement in transportation and communication technology. Their socio-cultural world has been disturbed. Apart from this, history supports the facts that on account of various foreign invasions, tribal communities were driven to take their asylum in the forests and mountains. As we know, the fact that tribals have their own socio-cultural world, and they were, they were living in a isolation since centuries. But with the foreign invasions, their isolations has been disturbed. For example, when Britishers came to India, they, due to their own economic interests, they take control over the forest, and the forest produced, and which disturbed the tribal communities. But those tribal communities who adjusted themselves with foreigners, they returned to the plains and started agriculture. But in other places where tribal communities could not adjust themselves with the foreigners, when they came to the plains, here they have to come across the other type of problems faced by the zamindars, moneylenders. These zamindars and moneylenders become the oppressors, and they have to come across you know a, a physical torture, mental torture. Their lands were taken away by these money landers or zamindars. And when they started opposing such discrimination, that was, even the British government supported these landlords and money lenders, which further added to their miseries. It is also evident from the various facts that tribal interests had always been crushed during the British administration. They taken no concern to the tribal communities. But since the attainment of freedom, greater consideration was given to the socio cultural and economic betterment and upliftment of the tribal communities. Keeping this in view, uh, in the Constitution of India, certain provisions are have been added for the betterment of the tribal communities. Now let's come to the point that what are the other causes of tribal problems that which have largely affected the tribal communities. First, contact with the civilized societies. When the tribals came into contact with the civilized societies, that became a very problematic for them because it disturbed their traditional social setup, and their attraction towards modern life have created a conflict in their mind, and they are failing to strike a balance between the two. Moreover, their contact with the outsider is responsible for their social and cultural disintegration. How? Let me give you one example. Uh, Tribals have their own traditions, tribals have their own belief system. When they came in contact with the larger society, these larger societies starts imposing their cultural system, their belief system on these tribal communities. This is how a sense of deprivation, a sense of marginalization has been created. The second point, which leading to the tribal problems, that is the hatred towards the new administrative setup. You know that the tribals have their own legal system, they have their own political setup, they have their own administrative setup. But when the foreigners invaded into their territory, they imposed their administrative setup on them, and they cannot adjust themselves with this new legal and administrative system. So they started hating it and sometimes willingly avoided it, which, according to the modern legal system, may be referred to as a crime. Let me give you one example. Um, Tribals have their own panchayat system, they have their own legal setup where all the major decisions were taken by their own council, tribal councils, where the elder members, take the important decisions. But after the establishment of our modern judiciary system, um, so their relevance, their legitimacy went away. If you do not follow the orders given by the modern judiciary, so it means that you are doing a criminal act. So this is how this was a direct intervention in their political setup, and this is how which it disturbed their their uh, political milieu or administrative setup. Now come to the third point, third problems faced by the tribals, that is the isolated and unapproachable habitats. As we know that the tribals used to live in the mountainous areas covered with a dense forest. In these areas, life is in a primitive stage, and means of communication were undeveloped or underdeveloped, and their mode of living and the geographical institutions of their settlements have already created various problems. Here, we need to understand that their isolation or their life in hard conditions, where there is a lack of facilities, lack of lack of transportation and communication, which make their life very hard. For example, if a person is not well, if a person you know got infected with any disease, such a disease or such a physical ailment, where he cannot, the patient cannot be, you know, cannot get the treatment because they are living at in an isolation place. They, moreover, they do not have any transportation facility that they can carry the patient to a nearby hospital. So their isolation in itself is a a problem for them. Next is illiteracy. Most of the tribals are illiterate, and their communication with the outside community is you know not very good, because they do not understand the language of the larger society. So, and do not understand, and they cannot, their illiteracy, due to their illiteracy, they cannot take the direct benefit of the development prospects of the mainstream society. Next problem which they face, due to the development of mines, minerals, and forests. We know that after independence, many development programs have been initiated by government of India in relation to mining, extraction of minerals, and cutting of trees for wood for wood to get a wood from the forest. And largely these mining, these mining areas, these minerals where they have been extracted, and the forest, these were those areas where tribals have their own habitats. So their habitats have been disturbed. But all the benefits, of extraction of minerals, mining of, important minerals, or, you know, cutting of woods, that all gone into the pockets of the capitalists only. But the tribal got nothing. Rather, you know, rather they further marginalized. Rather, it give opportunity to the outsiders to intrude into their socio-cultural world. There are many such examples before us. That's why in that in Red Corridor, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, in such areas where Naxalism is at peak, they they give justification of the violence towards state, that because their resources have been looted by the capitalists, and they do not get anything return. So this is how, this is a further, leading to the misery of tribals. Another problems which faced by the tribals is the effect of Christianity. There are many missionaries ever active in tribal areas, and their main objective is to proselytize into the or these tribals into the Christianity. But the tribals, since these tribals are poor, not economically well off, not literate enough, so they are easy targets of these Christian missionaries. And these conversions is a direct attack on their, religious belief system, or their, a social setup. Moreover, exploitation by the outsiders. We already have discussed that the exploitation by traders, moneylenders, and others. Next, British policy. The policy which was adopted by the British administration, their main objective was to extract, economic uh, interests, to seek more benefit. For this purpose, they do everything, okay, which could benefit the British administration. Moreover, the British administration posted their staff in tribal areas. Those people, they have no understanding about the tribal customs and traditions, and they were very much unsympathetic towards the tribal customs and belief system. This leading to a problem of cultural imperialism, and more other economic problems and social problems. Problem of geographic separation has already been discussed at length, that since they are living in unapproachable physical areas, in a deep valleys, dense forest, hills, and mountains, they do not have any relations with the civilized worlds. So this social isolation or seclusion has contributed to various other social problems. Another problem is the problem of habitation, because most of the tribal people are leading a nomadic life. They move from one place to another place in search of livelihood. They do not have a permanent place of residence. For example, the tribal community of Jammu and Kashmir, Gujjar community, they came to Gujjar, Gaddi, Bakarwal. They came to the plains in winter season, because in the higher lands, they are all covered with the snow. But during summer season, they move to the hillside, the mountainous regions, in search of grasslands for their animals. So this is the feature. This is a very important feature of the tribals, nomadism. They do not have a permanent settlement. Okay, due to this, do not having permanent settlement, they have to come across many difficulties in their routine life. Problem of exploitation because of their innocence, illiteracy, and helplessness. Tribals are exploited by the outsiders. So these were the major problems which we have discussed at length about the tribal society. Moreover, due to the in this modern era, tribals are coming across new challenges, and these challenges are being studied by the researchers. And this is how we need further researches to understand their issues and problems through the prism of the tribals. So uh, this was the overall view on the issues of the tribal problems. Hope you get something out of it, and we will try to improve it in next lecture series. Thank you so much for patient listening.